Hi, everybody. So I'm in a bit of a situation right now, and it's my husband and my in-laws who have put me in that position. My husband, let's call him Jacob, has been with me for the past 4 years. We've been married for 2 years, and a couple of weeks ago, I found out that I was pregnant. We were obviously overjoyed because I've always wanted to be a mother and have a little family of my own. So this was great. But we were keeping it under wraps for a while. Only our families knew about it, but now that it's been a while, we decided to announce it by throwing a party for everyone that we know because we think it's a joyous occasion that deserves to be celebrated well. We posted an announcement on social media and then we sent out invitations to the party. All our close friends were invited along with our families, and a couple of co-workers were also present there. And that included Nancy, Jacob's work wife. They started at the company together and they've been very close friends with each other for several years now. I've never really liked her, and I know that she doesn't really like me that much either, because she's always been one for backhanded compliments and underhand remarks. You know the type. But for Jacob's sake, we put up with one another because I know they're very close friends. I don't like the term work wife either. I feel like it's a little too much, but I don't want to be petty, so I've never brought it up with him because honestly, it's just never been that big of a deal until recently. So at the party, she insisted on baking a cake for me, even though we had told her that there was no need for any of this, but she said she wanted to congratulate us properly, and she's a self-proclaimed baker. So Jacob convinced me to give it a chance. And honestly, at that point in time, it didn't really seem like that big of a deal, so I agreed. She showed up with a cute little chocolate cake at the party, or at least that's what it looked like. But one bite in, and I already knew that I had to get rid of the whole thing. And if even by mistake I ingested a part of that cake, it would turn out to be pretty bad for me. And why did I think that way? Well, because as soon as I took a bite, I knew that the inside of the cake was full of peanuts. And literally everybody who knows me knows that I have a severe peanut allergy. I've always had it to the point where I can actually go into anaphylactic shock. Plus, given the amount of peanuts that I felt in my mouth in the first bite itself, I knew that this was on purpose because there was no way that she actually thought that a chocolate cake with this many peanuts inside was going to be a hit at any party. No normal person would put in that many peanuts in a cake, even by mistake. And she had done a great job of hiding it too from the outside. Didn't even look like anything else but a chocolate cake. But anyway, as soon as I took a bite, I just started spitting it all out without even caring what people thought. Obviously, that took people by shock. But then I told him that there was a bunch of peanuts in there and I couldn't have that cake. And I really lost it at that point in time. I didn't care what anybody else thought. I just started accusing Nancy of trying to poison me on purpose, and I was furious. So much so that Jacob literally had to drag me out of that room and take me to our room so I could calm down for a bit. I was there for about 10 minutes, and when I came back, Nancy was not there. The rest of the evening carried on as usual, and everyone was kind enough to pretend that whatever happened right before that was not important enough, and people just tried to cheer me up, and it worked well enough. By the end of the party, I was actually feeling much better, but then after everyone had left, Jacob started telling me that he knew for a fact that Nancy had done all of that on purpose. And I instantly said that I wanted to file charges against her. I hadn't done that during the party because there were guests around, but I couldn't let something like this slide. I was furious, but then Jacob started trying to tell me that it was not her fault. It was just a spur-of-the-moment decision that she made because she's been struggling with infertility for the past several days. And it has cost her one marriage already, so she has been pretty bitter about that. She and her husband were together since their college days, and they got married, and they were married for a couple of years before he filed for a divorce 3 years ago. And since then, Nancy has been pretty bitter even about my happy marriage with Jacob. But I honestly had no idea that her struggle with infertility was the reason why her marriage ended up in a divorce. And I guess I would have felt bad for her if I had known that earlier, and if she hadn't tried to trigger an allergic reaction on purpose just to vent her jealousy and insecurity. For whatever reason, Jacob knew about all of this, and he told me he had spoken to Nancy after that whole thing with me. And while I was in my room trying to calm down, he was talking to her, trying to figure out what exactly was happening, why she would do something like this. She had apparently broken down in tears and said that she had made a huge mistake. She was really sorry about it, but she was just very upset and resentful, and that's why she did this. And she practically begged him not to press charges against her or anything. And he had made that promise already, for God knows what reason, because it was not his place to do that. This is something that she was trying to do to me, not to him. So I don't understand why he would make that commitment to her and say that he was not going to press charges, when in reality, he was not in a position to make a promise like that. So I was pretty infuriated because I couldn't believe that he was defending a woman who had literally tried to poison me, especially when I was pregnant. I mean, in such a delicate condition. God knows what could have happened. I was lucky that I realized that there were peanuts in it and I spat it out. I did not ingest anything, so there were no symptoms. But even then, her intentions were not right. And I couldn't believe that Jacob was actually defending her, so we got into a huge fight over that. And the next day, my in-laws came over to talk to me about what was going on. I thought that they were going to be on my side on this because we usually get along well, but then they were also telling me that I shouldn't file charges because of everything that Nancy has been through in the past. It was natural for her to feel this way, but surely it cannot be natural for her to try and poison me and try to trigger an allergic reaction just because she's jealous. It was ridiculous, and I got into a fight with them as well because all of them were insisting that I forgive and forget and let it all go. And I don't think that that's necessary. Right now, I'm not on speaking terms with my husband. Neither am I on speaking terms with my in-laws, and I just feel like the most terrible person alive because they're making me feel that way. Am I really in the wrong here? I feel like I'm going crazy. AITA here for not wanting to forgive my husband's friend for trying to trigger an allergic reaction just because she was jealous of the fact that I was pregnant and she was infertile. Edit. Yes, guys, I've spoken to my friends and my parents about this, but I've only mentioned it to very close friends of mine and my parents because I don't want this to be public information. And all of them have told me that I'm absolutely not in the wrong here, and that I don't need to feel bad about any of this because, after all, it's not my fault. I did not make her infertile, and I did not make her try to poison me. So they're very clear about what they believe. And honestly, I'm just here to get a completely unbiased opinion. Update 1. Hi, everyone. So it's been a couple of days since I made my post here, and after going through the comments, I realized that my parents and my friends were all right. And I'm right too. I don't need to apologize for how I feel to Jacob and his parents. I don't have to care what they think. I don't have to care that they think that Nancy deserves a second chance. But on the other hand, I just don't want any more stress right now, so I've decided not to file charges against her. Not because of anything that I've been told, but just because I want to preserve my own peace of mind. It might not be the right thing to do, but honestly, right now, given everything that I'm going through, I just don't want to get into another situation because I know that it'll get even more complicated if I decide to press charges now. But I'll definitely try to get a restraining order against her. I don't want her coming around ever again. However, Even that may prove to be unnecessary if Jacob and I don't end up solving this. Because without Jacob in my life, I'll have nothing to do with her anyway. And I know that it's pretty early to be talking about this, but I don't know. I really want to work things out with him, but he's been very stubborn about the whole thing. Last evening, because I just couldn't take the silent treatment anymore, I decided to tell him I was going to stay with my parents for a couple of days. I thought that he would try to stop me, but instead he just told me that given the situation right now, he thinks that it's for the best. I could tell that he was not happy about it. He was definitely quite upset, and I'm pretty sure that he cried because I can always tell regarding things like this with him. But even then, he didn't try to stop me, and it's not like he doesn't care. He called me up in the morning today asking me how I'm feeling because I've started to feel all that morning sickness and nausea nowadays. We had a bit of a chat about my health, and we are planning on going to meet my gynecologist together for our routine checkups this weekend. And he's pretending other things are normal, but he's been cold and aloof. And so have I. So everything is very formal, and it's not like how it used to be. So it's not like he doesn't care at all. He definitely does, but he's just not willing to bend on this one thing. And I just don't get it. It's frustrating. Anyway, so that's one thing. And I don't know when we're going to be able to sort all this out because I really want to go back to him, especially right now, given that I'm pregnant. I don't want to spend time away from him. It's not that I don't love him, but just right now, given the situation that we're in, the thing that we're fighting about, I don't think that I can let it go. It's something that I think I should fight about. I just hope he realizes his mistake and comes and apologizes to me because I really don't want our relationship to be ruined because of this one thing. No matter whatever has happened, I really miss him. I really want things to work out, and I know that that's what my parents want from me as well, because I've been miserable ever since we started fighting about this whole thing in the first place. Especially with the baby on the way. I want my baby to have a complete family, and so I genuinely and truly hope that he comes back. I am literally praying every day that he realizes that he's messed up, and even now I'm willing to take him back, provided he apologizes. That's the only thing that I want, so I'll wait a little. Update 2. Hey, so I know that a lot of people in the comments were not happy because in my last update I spoke about how I was ready to take him back only if he apologized to me. Well, you guys might have noticed that my forgiveness was conditional. I was not going to forgive him just like that. He had to apologize to me wholeheartedly, and only then I would consider taking him back. Because what has happened, it's serious. It's not a joke. So I don't think that that was anything that made me a pushover in that sense of the word. And I was definitely not being a doormat. At the end of the day, he's my husband. We've been together for quite a while, and we have had our ups and downs. But just because of this one thing, I don't want to give up on us. I know that a lot of people might have given up, but I have a baby coming along, and I don't want my baby to grow up in a broken home. That's just me. And I really want to give him a chance. But again, like I said in my previous update, it's all conditional. I wouldn't forgive him if he did not apologize, and I was not going to wait for him indefinitely. In my head, I had already decided that I was going to give it a couple of days and then I would try to talk to him again this time. If he did not apologize, then I would be forced to file for a divorce because otherwise I couldn't think of any other way out of this. So I had it all mapped out in my head, and I definitely don't think that I'm a pushover in this regard. I hope that makes sense to people. There's no need to hate on me for all of this. Anyway, I guess all my prayers were answered, and today in the morning, Jacob came over to talk to me. He didn't just show up empty-handed. He showed up with a bouquet of flowers and chocolates for me. And after my parents let him in, he didn't even say anything. He just came straight over to me and hugged me. He started apologizing to me and told me that he was wrong and I was right, and that he was being stubborn and egoistic, and that he couldn't bear the thought of being away from me. So he decided to apologize to me as soon as he came to his senses, because he did not want to let me down, especially when I'm about to become a mom. He told me the only reason that he had been trying to defend Nancy was because she had been his friend for so long, that he had started becoming a little oversensitive about the whole thing. Ultimately, though, she was wrong, and there was no way he could bring himself to justify anything that she had done. In fact, he also told me that after the incident at the party, he decided to cut Nancy out of his life totally. Apparently, even though they've been working together and she's been trying to approach him at work several times for the past couple of days, he has shut her out completely. And no matter how hard she tries, he has made up his mind that he's not going to speak to her again. Because what happened was not forgivable. And even though he tried to convince me to not press charges against her, deep down, he did not believe that she had the right to do what she did just because she resented me and was jealous. A lot of people struggle with many things, but that doesn't give them the right to do whatever they want and get away with it. And he even told me that if now I want to go ahead and press charges against her of any kind, then he would be more than supportive of me. But then I told him that right now I just don't want to pick that fight. I don't have time or energy for any of that. But then he insisted I should go ahead and take some sort of legal action against her, because at the end of the day, what she tried to do to me could have seriously hurt me and our baby. And she should face some sort of consequence for that, and that she shouldn't be able to get away with it, because who knows what she might try with somebody else in the future. And he made a fair point, so I told him I would think about it, but right now, today, I just wanted to talk about the two of us. I did not want to talk about her. I did not want to think about her because she had stirred up enough trouble in my life already. I did not want to make this day about her as well. I wanted this to be about the two of us, and he understood what I was getting at. So Jacob told me that he was here to take me with him because honestly, he had been miserable without me. And every single day he had been thinking of ways to get me back, and he had already made up his mind that he wanted to apologize, but he just couldn't bring himself to it because along with being stubborn and egoistic, he was also feeling quite ashamed of himself for whatever had happened. Because at the end of the day, he could not live down the guilt of the fact that he should have been supportive of me, and yet he put me in a difficult position and pushed me to the extent where I felt like I had to leave the house. And he was really ashamed of himself for that, because he hadn't been a good husband or a good father in the past couple of days and had started to question his ability to prove himself in the future. I totally understood that, and I told him that what really matters to me is the fact that at least now he has come to his senses and he knows that what he did was not right. And as long as he knows that, I'm willing to give him a second chance and make things right, because at the end of the day, I know that he matters to me a lot. I know that our marriage is something that I would like to save. And I wouldn't like to let it go down the drain because of something that Nancy did. In the end, I told him that I would like to stay with my parents for a couple more days, but then by the end of the week, I would be back with him, because honestly, I feel like I owe my parents that much, and clearly they were not ready to let me go just today. So I'm going to spend some more time with them, and then I'm going to go back to my own house and I'm going to sort everything out with my husband, because I know that we are going to be a family of 3 soon, and I really want to start that on a good note. So I'm very happy that my husband came to his senses and decided to talk to me. Update 3. So it's been a couple of days since my last update, and today in the morning I came back home. Finally, it really felt good to be back, and nobody was happier than Jacob. In the past few days, of course, we've been in touch. He's been texting me almost every hour, and he visited me while I was staying with my parents for the past few days, every single evening. And it was actually pretty fun because my parents also got to spend some time with the both of us. They were very upset with him initially, and I don't blame them for that. I was also quite upset with him given the situation, but both my parents and I decided to give him a second chance, and he's making the best of it. With his parents, it's been a different story altogether, because They still haven't made any attempts to contact me. Neither have they apologized for anything, and Jacob has told me that they're not even talking to him right now. Apparently, a few days after I left, he decided to talk to his parents, and he told them that he was going to apologize to me. And they were not happy about it at all. They said that this is going to set a wrong example of what was to be expected in the future, because they still believe that he was not in the wrong. They still believe that I was unreasonable, and they think that my act of leaving the house itself just shows how fickle-minded I am, and they were completely against the idea of him apologizing to me. But in the end, he made it clear to them that he knew he was the one who screwed up, and he was going to make it right with me, and he did not need their support for it. He had only called them for a little bit of a morale boost, but if they couldn't provide that to him, then he didn't have anything to say to them. Honestly, I have to say I'm quite surprised that this is their take on the whole situation, because like I said in my first post, they've never really been the kind of in-laws who have hated me or anything. They've always gotten along well with me, so this is quite surprising. I don't know what to think of it, but anyway, if this is their opinion, then I can't do anything to change it. And honestly, neither do I want to. Because at the end of the day, what matters to me the most is my marriage and Jacob. And as long as everything is all right there, I don't really care about anything else. They can hold whatever grudges they want against me, and they can totally continue not talking to me or Jacob. It's just going to be their loss, not ours. Update 4. So it's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and today I guess my in-laws woke up in a better mood and they decided to finally talk to us. It was the weekend. My husband and I were at home. Jacob and I were just chatting in the evening when they showed up at our house. Jacob was the one who saw them through the window, and then, before he even opened the door, he asked me if I would be comfortable letting them in and if I wanted to talk to them, because clearly they were here to discuss things and sort it all out. And honestly, I didn't know what to say to that, but the fact that they were here, I felt like I had to respect it. So I decided to let them in. And then, when they were inside, they were quite stiff and awkward in the beginning. But then they addressed me and told me that they were here to apologize to me because clearly they had misjudged the whole situation. They said that my decision to go ahead and press charges against Nancy was very harsh, and that's why they had been upset with me, because they believed that in order to be a good mother, I needed to have a more forgiving temperament, and they thought I was being a little too quick-tempered. And then when I decided to leave the house and go stay with my parents for a while, because my husband and I were fighting, they believed that Jacob was making a mistake by going out of his way to apologize to me because they did not think that it was his fault. And they believed that it was my mistake for acting like this. But now, since I haven't taken any sort of legal action against Nancy, and I have even patched up with Jacob, they believe that I might make a good mom. And they were here to apologize to me. But it was not because they believed they were wrong. They thought that my behavior had changed and I was acting in accordance to whatever they believed was the right way to behave for a mom to be. I was actually kind of dumbstruck by all of that. But then I explained the whole situation to them as politely as I could and told them the only reason that I did not take any sort of action against Nancy was not because I wanted to be kind to her or anything. It was just because I was being kind to myself by saving myself the trouble of going after her and creating a whole new mess for us to deal with. So it had nothing to do with my kindness or forgiving nature. And even with Jacob, I had forgiven him because he had shown me that he was really sorry. We didn't just patch things up on our own. He had to apologize to me first, so I was really sorry to burst their bubble. But I was very much the same person whom they thought was not going to make a good mom. I mean, you guys probably understand what I'm getting at. They were here to apologize for all the wrong reasons. They couldn't respect me for who I am, so they started to believe that maybe I had changed as a person. And that's the only reason they believe that they had missed us to the situation and that's why they came over. It was not right, and I was not going to accept that kind of apology. So I put all the facts for them, and then I left them to decide for themselves if they wanted to continue the conversation or not. After that, there was some silence because I guess all of us were just feeling uncomfortable. But then my in-laws just said that if that was the case, and if I was going to behave like this with them so curtly, then they clearly did not have anything to discuss with me. And then, very abruptly, they just left. They didn't even say goodbye to their own son, which was strange. But then that's how it is. Anyway, I don't have anything else to say about this. They decided not to apologize to me, and that's completely fine. Like I said in my previous update as well, there's nothing more important to me than the well-being of myself, Jacob, and our baby. As long as the three of us are happy, I'm not going to let anything bother me. And Jacob is on the same page as me on that because he's quite unbothered by all that as well. For us, the only priority right now is our baby. And I think that's the way it should have been. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.